There was a time when nearly anybody planning a trip to New York City would plan to catch a show on Broadway. These days you have to plan on winning the lottery before you can afford to catch many shows. Production costs and ticket prices have risen so high that even the Prince of the Great White Way is saying, "Give my goodbye to Broadway." Haywood Hilbrun asked Hal Prince, how come?
So long as it costs close to $1 million to do a straight play and three, 4, or 5 to do a musical, I cannot produce.
If I were a rich man,
He is a rich man. He produced Fiddler on the Roof, which ran for 8 years on Broadway. He doesn't think he could raise money for it today.
A lot of people are going to go, oh, he's crazy. Come on. Jews in Russia and a pogrom. Nonsense.
Tonight, the world is wide and bright, going red.
I don't think I could remotely have, or today, raise money to put on West Side Story. Leland Hayward, who had been an old boss of mine, said to me, look, kid, it's good. You've had some successes. It's time you had a prestigious failure. That's how he referred to West Side Story.
Welcome.
Hal Prince made art in the commercial theater a difficult task. He now says he finds that impossible.
A 4750 seat is not sensible to me. If you're going to pay $90 or whatever that is, $95 for 2 seats, you have a right for it to be perfect. I don't know too many perfect shows that I've been associated with these last 32 years.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
He directed Evita in New York, London, and Los Angeles.
Evita was grossing $1,200,000 a week. But what about all the rest of the shows? It's not a fair picture of the state of the theater.
The Opera House began in the last decade to seem more comfortable than Broadway, so Prince began to share his directorial talents, doing operas in Houston, Vienna, and here in Chicago.
That's a pretty voice. That's a pretty voice, isn't it?
Early in 1985, he announced a sabbatical from Broadway.
I had a play on last spring. I cannot and will not raise these sums of money. So let's say this is certainly a temporary stoppage of producing on my part. I also will not and cannot live under the burden of those sums of money because they carry with them a terrible pressure. They alter your priorities.
You have been through 2 agonizing failures recently, A Doll's Life and Grind. Did they fail because of the present atmosphere of theater?
It certainly contributed to their failure. Both were flawed. The latter was influenced by very much the conditions that I refuse to work under anymore. The former, not at all. I'm sure it was flawed. Lots of shows are flawed. The thing about the flawed shows is that they ran. That's all I'm talking about.
Signalizing his alienation, Prince resigned at the end of last season from the Producers' Power Group, the League of American Theaters and Producers.
There are no producers in the commercial theater anymore. There are theater owners producing. Say I raised $169,000 back in 1954 with my partners to do Pajama Game. There were 175 investors, probably. You can see that nobody had more than $1,000 in there. I know for a fact that those investors were as proud of Follies, which lost its investment, as they were a show that got its money back, i.e. A Little Night Music. Perhaps prouder. I think that's a situation which is very healthy because it said to me, do what you want to do. Do Pacific Overtures. It'll never make any money. Not now. The investors have to put up $3, $4, $5 million for you to do Pacific Overtures. If they're going to put up that kind of money, they want to see it back. They don't have it to indulge their love of theater. All right. Okay, we'll see you there.
In his sabbatical role as theatrical philosopher,
The Watergate.
Prince finds his position as head of the National Institute for Music Theater a useful platform for a visionary.
So what I'm going to try to do with my year off is encourage people to establish musical theater programs, musical theater institutions, to awaken the opera companies to the notion of developing experimental musical theater groups.
Hal Prince sees the future of music theater in new non-profit institutions.
I expect there'll be a national musical theater, not just as a museum to recreate what's been done before, but to give the stage to new musical work. There will be institutions very quickly across the country in musical terms to emulate what non-musical regional theater's been able to do.
Talking to young theater professionals, Hal Prince is trying to learn his own lesson from a recent string of failures on Broadway.
I never thought we're taking this art form and going somewhere with it. I thought I'm just doing what I want to do. Where's it going to take me now? I don't know. I'm really only interested in, I'm interested in artists, their voices, the writers, and in the subject matter. And therein is where the grind thing took a turn. We did not do the show we set out to do. And I have not said that very often in my lifetime. And that's where I don't want to do that again.
It's a smart place, it's a dumb place, but everybody got to be someplace.
When we did Grind, there was no star role in Grind, and there should not have been. But the show could not get on unless we found a star, i.e. Ben Vereen. We found him. That immediately starts to pull at your original intention.
And now, direct from the pump room, the stomach pump room at Chicago General Hospital, Dr.
Do you think that Broadway has so much money in these million-dollar shows that it tends to do junk?
I think so. Sure. I think you start to think all sorts of commercial stuff. You start to think demographics. The people who put up the money have always had opinions about theater. The point is, you never had to listen to them. They never leaned on you. Now, with an enormous investment, try as you will to withstand that pressure, it's almost impossible. Making a piece of art in the commercial theater is a very elusive, creative pursuit.
From the time he was 26 years old and co-produced his first Broadway musical, Hal Prince has made musical theater history. First as a producer, then as a director, he's won 15 Tony Awards. He's earned the right to speak of a crisis in the Broadway theater.
Last year, there were a whole bunch of interviews in the newspapers, all accepted at face value from the various owners of theaters, saying that there was no product. The only thing wrong with the theater was the absence of product. Baloney. There are playwrights, there are composers, lyricists, directors, they're all out there, dying to work, and they're very damn talented.
Madame Butterfly is a cultural and financial world away from Broadway.
I actually did Madame Butterfly because I had never seen a Madame Butterfly that didn't bore me throughout the evening. People standing stone still in rectangular rooms with tatami mats. And I thought, it doesn't have to be. What a good story it is. Now, better if this works very well, this doesn't work so well. If she goes, no. If she sees it, no. So it's almost a door. It's almost a door that gets pushed open. That's it. And then you, all right? Okay. Let's try it one more time. Once. It was done done for, I think, well under $300,000, scenery and costumes. And it's magnificent looking. If we had done it for Broadway, there goes $2 million right there. I mean to carry on this dialogue with whomever's interested. I also, however, mean to do something about it. The one thing that I certainly can't do is lower the production cost appreciably, lower the operating expense, and lower the price of the ticket. We must do that in a cooperative fashion. And somebody says, well, gee, sure, it's real easy for you to poke at the problem, but why don't you tell us how to solve it? No, there are people who know more about those things than I do. It's not my obligation also to solve it. That's the problem.